So now we're going to talk about customer types and customer terms. So customer types are a way to filter on your list here of customers, on your dashboards, a way to filter, and on your financial reports. So if you wanted to see how you're doing for sales in your service department, you can put those types, customer types, as columns on the top of your financial report. You can do many different filters on other reports as well. If you want to see your projects on the left and your customers on the top, your customer types. So how am I doing with all my service projects by project? Okay. So I'll show you a couple examples, but those are some ways to use customer types. So on this enhanced list, I can more easily see all the customer types with this drop-down arrow here that I then can pick exactly the customer type and not have to guess on the other view. I've got a drop-down instead, and it's going to list just those out for me. So that helps you manage your list a little easier and get to your customer. If you know it's a service type customer, then you have a shorter list. So I'm going to go back to the other list. And we're going to go into editing a customer here just to show you how you put those types on the customer record. Okay, so I've got my first tab here. On the second tab, I've got additional information. You can see my types are right here. If you want to add a type on the fly, you can hit add. And it's as simple as just typing a new name. So maybe you want to see all your hospitals, all your customers that you build hospitals for. Some other examples are schools. You could do office building type customers. Now we're getting into an example too of maybe you want to use those as project types instead. So remember, there's types all over the system on these types of lists. So your vendors, projects, your customers have these types on them. So you kind of want to figure out the best use of them. Okay. So I'm just going to save this so we have to see how easy it is to add a new one. So there's that. Now we also have terms right here. Okay. So terms are set up in the system under the setup menu in AR, but you can set them up on the fly here as well. So remember, you can also hit view and you can see the details of this exact term. So if I hit edit, I can change it if I want to. So I can't change the ID on a lot of these types of lists, but I can change the name. I can change some of the other fields, but there is a key field that you will need to duplicate this and rename it if you need to. Okay, so if you don't like net 30, you'd have to duplicate it and rename the ID here. So the terms work in the way of I want to have 30 days from the invoice or bill date. I want to have it be due on the 6th month from the invoice or due date. So it's going to be on the 6th day of the month following the invoice or bill date. After the end of the month of the invoice or bill date, and from the invoice or bill extending to end of month. Okay. So if you're not sure what exactly all that means, hit the help button here, and it's going to give you field descriptions for what exactly that does. So if you click about terms or field descriptions, so field descriptions I like because it goes exactly with the screen I'm on. And I've got my different ways it's calculating. It gives you examples as well. Okay. So how it's going to exactly work if you do the invoice date, the due date, how it's going to show up for the calculation when you pick this specific field here. Okay, so don't forget to use help on this page. With terms also comes discounts, also comes penalties. So for AR, you might charge a specific penalty to your customers if they pay you late. So let's say it's 1.5% every month that you want to charge interest to their account. So there you have to set up the terms to calculate the penalty and how you want it to calculate. Okay, so you have different ways. You can do a fixed amount per month, day, week. You can see all the different frequencies. And you can then set this, put the terms on the customer, and every time you generate an invoice, those default terms will come in from the customer. Okay, so if you are wanting to then deploy and put those penalties on at the end of the month, you actually then need to run the utility at the end of the month called penalties here to then apply those penalties and run that process. Okay, so it doesn't automatically post the penalty when you put the terms on, but you have to run this penalties process here near the end of the month to go ahead and put that 1.5% on per month, for example. If you want to deploy those, then watch our video on how to process penalties for customers. Okay, so I'm going to cancel this. And I'm going to come back over here to the list of customers. And now I'm going to navigate to the Terms Setup tab, to the Terms area, so you can see where these are stored. So I'm going to go back into one that has some discounts in it. So we're going to hit Edit here. So now we can see that we've got the due date. So it's due 30 days from the invoice or bill date when the discount doesn't apply. So if the customer pays within 10 days from the invoice date, then they get a 2% discount. Okay. So we do have the ability to do a discount setup in here. So if the customer pays, let's say the invoice date to the customer is April 30th and they pay on May 8th, it's within the 10 days, that it's going to automatically apply the 2% discount to that invoice. Okay. So when you look at your configuration in accounts receivable, so I'm going to navigate to AR configuration. And we've set up the accounts in configuration. And we tell it where it's going to default those sales discounts and those penalties to customers. So sales discount is the account we're using when a customer pays early. When we're charging a customer for paying late, the penalties is going to go to interest income. So it's 1.5% per month in the example. So when we actually process the accounts receivable receipt in the screen, so I'm going to go down to an entity level. So I've got my transactions down there. And I navigate to the receive payments new. And I'm going to click add. Pick my customer. I click show invoices. And I'm going to use this one here. Add and close. So let's look at the invoice here for the date and the terms. So I've got 3/31/25, 2% discount within 10 days, otherwise net 30. So I'm going to put receive payment date in of 4/5/25. And you can see down below the $1,000 2% discount popped in because I put the payment date within 10 days. So if I do apply term discount here, it's going to change the payment amount to $49,000. Put that up in the header here, put a check number in, and I'm going to hit post. So that is how you apply a discount in the payment screen when the customer pays within those terms where the discount applies. Okay, so you can see now it is posted here with the 4/5 date. Okay, so now I'm going to navigate over to a different tab here and show you how those customer types work in a dashboard. So I've got some filters up here at the top. So I've got my date, I've got a location entity filter, I've got a project filter, and I've got a customer filter. So notice this is the same as my customer type. So I had a customer type called service. So what this is this is a customer type group. Okay. So what we have done is we have created customer type groups first. So over here on this tab, we have a service customer group. So under accounts receivable setup groups, we have created this customer group. So it's going to automatically group all of my service type customers into this group called service. Okay, so you can see the filter down here. If my customer type ID equals service on my customer record, put it in the service group. So when I put this service filter here, my customer group there and hit apply, it's going to list only the projects that have that specific customer associated with it, for example. So this is a project manager dashboard. And the projects on the project screen have a customer associated with that project. So if I have any service type projects, those would populate in here. Okay. So it looks like I do not. So I'm going to change it to the other customer type group called owner. I'm going to hit apply again. And now you can see I've got some projects that had that customer that had the customer type marked as owner. So you can see down below, it shrunk my list down on all of these reports that I have loaded here. So just to show you an example of how to use those customer types in a dashboard, you can also use these in reports and in the smart rules, smart events, kind of all over the system where there's reporting or filtering allowed. And don't forget to use Ask Richard if you have questions in your Ask Richard help section. You can type a question here. For example, how to set up a customer term. Hit enter, and you're going to see some content, including videos, including written content. It's going to take you to the exact spot in the video as well of where that is mentioned in the video. Also, don't forget, if you have further questions, join a Q&A. If you have further questions on the AR types, terms, discounts, or penalties.